Hi, everyone. I'm James Garbutt.
And I'm Denny Dumas.
And this is the Garbutt Dumas Real Estate Podcast.
Special episode today, Monica. PoMo Life. Monica's a very excited Port Moody resident, loves the city, knows the product better than basically anyone I know in terms of real estate.
Setting me up for failure here, Denny.
Putting a lot of pressure on. Monica single-handedly convinced me to move to Port Moody. So we're expecting big things from these next couple episodes, talking specific Port Moody real estate. I think we're going to start with condos. Condos all over Greater Vancouver in the last, let's say, 2 or 3 months have picked up significantly in activity. We have a couple stories to share literally from last night. So today is February 24th. So there's a few condo sales last night, February 23rd, 2021, that are big sales, that are record sales in the last year, 2 years. Have we seen prices this high in PoMo condos ever?
We have seen a little bit of it, but never like this and never at the speed that we're seeing them right now. I think that there are so many things that have contributed to this growth in Port Moody. And one of them, of course, is the SkyTrain. And that's made a huge difference. I think this is the first spring market we've had, well, going into spring, I'd say. This is the first market that we've had with the SkyTrain, without COVID being like complete lockdown. There's a lot of things that have kind of made it right for a really big year for condos in Port Moody.
See, Carl, I told you. Very knowledgeable.
What did you tell him? Okay.
PoMo Queen. Let's share the stories from last night because I think they're pretty important. Like last night, we sold a 1-bedroom in Klahani, which is one of the most desirable neighborhoods in Port Moody, close to SkyTrain, close to the breweries, close to Suterbrook and grocery stores and coffee shops and shopping in Newport. It was the highest sale of a 1-bedroom that I can remember for that square footage. There's some larger one in dens, but for a straight 1-bedroom, it's the largest I've seen in one of those wood frames in a long, long time. We heard of a couple others that sold last night too, both 2-bedrooms, both in low-rise wood frame buildings. And it's interesting being agents in markets like this that are climbing so quickly that valuations change weekly. And so we met with a seller in Suterbrook, which is one of the other most desirable neighborhoods in Port Moody, that probably 3 weeks ago, and evaluating her property based on what's sold in the last 60 days, really going back from 3 weeks ago. And I sent them an email last night after hearing about these 3 sales, and literally the email is like, great news. That evaluation I gave you 3 weeks ago, totally wrong.
Throw it out.
Right? It's totally wrong. It's probably another 40 to 50 grand compared to what it was 3 weeks ago based on these last 3 sales. And that's how quickly the market overall is changing. And it seems like Strata is just at the fringe point of having a really busy year, I think.
The interesting thing for me watching what's happened in the market is it is just February, and we're seeing things that you would see kind of at the epicenter of a really hot seller market. For example, one of the sales from last night, a sale that's pretty good, but when you really break it down, there's nothing overly special about this unit. It's an inside unit. It's looking onto a less desirable side of the building, a less desirable side of the street. There's no significant amount of updates. The things that we usually see when we see that record sale is you're like, oh, but that one had a cool reno, or that one had extra parking, or that one had a great view. Yeah. These sales don't have any of those extra attributes. So that tells us that we're heading into a really exciting market for condos that we really haven't seen in years. And we probably have never seen this type of excitement over new listings in Port Moody, I think probably ever.
Totally. Let's maybe share those few stories. So one was a top floor, 2-bed, 2-bath, 880 square foot condo in Klahani, 801 Klahani, I believe. That got multiple offers, was listed at $680,000, sold $725 last night. That's a big number. That's a big number for 880 square feet. What is that? like right around $900 a foot. 12 months ago, what was that? $700 a foot, maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah. So those are these are big numbers that are literally changing weekly. The one bedroom that we sold in Klahani was our valuation. We met this seller about a week and a half ago. Valuation was $499 is probably the right number. It's a 713 square foot unit in a 15-year-old building, new floors that look great, but it's on the 3rd floor, so it's not top floor. There's nothing super special about the outlook, or it's one parking, one storage, original kitchen, original bathroom. We decided to list a little higher because there's literally no inventory. So we list at $525, which is probably $40,000 or $50,000 higher than the most recent sale a couple months ago. And we got multiple offers last night and sold full price subject free. So $525 is the new standard for a regular one bedroom in a wood frame that's not on the top floor.
You're welcome, Klahani. The really exciting thing to see is that, the average 2-bed condo sale in Port Moody, January and February considered only in 2021, is $711,000.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few outliers, and I'm taking the over $1 million luxury ones out of the picture, and it's still $711,000. It's pretty crazy. It's exciting, and I think that the big thing here is Port Moody has seen this trickle-down effect that usually takes years to make its way to condos. It's happened rapidly.
Totally.
So, detached prices are really high. So a lot of buyers have had to pivot and turn to townhouses because they can't afford the detached prices. So now that's making the townhouses more desirable and hard to come by, which is a whole nother topic. But now what's happened is, okay, so I can't get into a 2-bedroom townhouse without paying $750, I'm going to turn to condos. Well, what's happening there is the condos for 2-bed prices are rising, and we're seeing that now. The condo prices for 2 beds are almost as much as the townhouse 2 beds. It's pretty crazy.
We sold a townhouse up Heritage Mountain on Forest Parkway a couple weeks ago. Why don't you share the specs on that? Because it's interesting to look at this 2-bedroom, top floor, 880 square foot unit that sold last night for $725 versus what you get up Heritage Mountain for $775.
Yeah, I've been a huge fan of Heritage Mountain townhouses for a long time because the prices have always been really, really fair and a really comfortable price for a family that's trying to get into a home and get out of the condo life. We sold a 3-bed, 2-bath, updated townhouse in the beginning of January for $775. That was a record-breaking sale for that floor plan in that complex. And when I say record-breaking, I think it's like $50,000 more than the most recent sale of a much more renovated unit in the complex. We knew it was going to do well because there was nothing on the market in January. Mm-hmm. So we kind of pulled what we pulled last night, the Klahani situation. We just priced it high, knowing that people were going to come anyway and knowing that that would give an even higher jumping off point for the offers hopefully to go over. So we ended on $775, which was really exciting. But then a week later, an end unit in that complex that was about 300 square foot bigger sold for $976. It was like, we're like, what? It didn't even have another bedroom. There was nothing even more special about that besides that it was an end unit and had a flex space in the entry. And that one went for $976 or $978. And from there, like the history is crazy because now we've seen 4 townhouses in Port Moody crack the $1 million mark. The first one went for $1,020,000. The next one went for $1,040,000. Then we saw one go for 1.2, and then we just saw one go for 1.298. And so that really paints the story of what's happening in the condo market. Yeah. So I think if you're looking at a 3-bed, 2-bath, and you want to get a reasonable deal, a townhouse now is between $700 and $800 in Heritage Mountain, which is still an amazing value when you compare it to a house across the street that's selling for 1.8. And then from there, it's like, okay, our options are build equity in a condo that we could maybe rent in the future if we don't want to sell it. And Klahani is the place to go. Like the Port Moody Center is the place to go because we're having more products come on the market, more new products like off St. John's. There's a bunch of new developments that have just now been allowed to resale. And I think that once those start hitting the market, we'll see this year, it might cool the condo market a little bit. but not much because there's just not a lot of inventory.
I think that's the main problem. Yes, there's a little bit of a trickle down effect from single family, but in the past, it's always been like 12 to 18 months until that next kind of lower product type feels that wave. This year, it's been so quick. It's been literally 3 months. And so it's probably a little bit of people getting priced out of product and just moving down the ladder. But I think it's also that inventory has been unbelievably low the last 6 months, let's say.
For sure. I think the inventory is a big problem. We're seeing a lot of our buyers have a really wide net for where they're looking, which is something we haven't seen before. Usually when we have buyers looking in New West, they're just looking in New West. If they're looking in Port Moody, they're just looking in Port Moody. Right now, our buyer searches are hilarious. It's like Langley, Poco, Port Moody, Coquitlam, or New West. A buyer's tour is impossible because we're driving like all over a creation. So I think that it's really interesting to see just the buyer mentality completely change. Like you can't be as picky. You're willing to live wherever. It's just, it's a pretty interesting time right now. Yeah.
Like I like talking about opportunity. In Strata is, you touched on pre-sales a little bit, and there's not a lot in Port Moody. There's 4 or 5 projects to look at right now?
I think maybe 4, and then there's some coming in the future. The most is sold out. Anything that's like selling right now is probably sold out or close to it.
Is there any, like, where is opportunity in condo right now?
In condo
Strata?
In Port Moody? I think the opportunity is in investment properties, to be honest. I think that there's a lot of people that would like to rent in Port Moody that can't quite afford it. I think a small condo that comes on the market, if you know that you want to get in the market in the future, say you're renting, you and your girlfriend or you and your family are renting a place and you want to buy, you kind of have to change your mindset and say, okay, instead of buying a 2-bedroom condo for us, let's just go see what we can afford in Port Moody. Let's try to find a 1-bedroom condo. There's a few bachelor style condos that you can rent. And I really think that needs to be a new mentality as the first step for real estate. Like, you don't have to buy something for yourself. You can buy something that just gets you in the door. You can get it rented out pretty quickly in Port Moody under most circumstances. You build your equity, and then from there, it gives you a little bit more choices. You're already renting a place. You can just stay in your rental, but build your equity, build your real estate wealth, and then make the move when it's right, instead of stretching. If you have to stretch and you're looking for that opportunity, I think that there's a lot of really cool older complexes in Port Moody that people overlook. There's amazing ones on Brookside. Lucas and I love the Brookside townhouses because they're huge. They have amazing floor plans. They're walking distance to all the same things that Klahani's walking distance from. And they're really nice, and it's a really well-maintained complex. There's also some great ones up in the College Park area. We've recently had buyers that are like, we're only buying a townhouse in College Park. We'll wait for one to become available.
Really?
Because the community there is crazy. And honestly, that's why people come to Port Moody, is for the community. And in those complexes, a lot of people rent, and then when they can afford to buy, they buy back into the same complex that they're renting because they just love the community. And so those, for me, opportunity-wise, I would get into one of the older complexes. They're well-run, well-maintained. A lot of them have had just like new paint, new roofs. They're great, and they all are in walking distance from the same thing. I think we have to shift our mentality out of needing new in Port Moody. For so long, everything was new. In places like New West and in Vancouver, it's no big deal to buy a place that's 30, 40, 100 years old. Nobody cares. But for a long time in Port Moody, it's like, oh my gosh, that's a 20-year-old townhouse. That's really old. Which is not the case anymore. Yeah.
Sweet. I think that's a pretty good update. Give me a prediction. Where do condos go? The last sale in let's talk about Klahani specific, because there's 2 sales last night. A 2-bedroom for $725, a 1-bedroom for $525. What is the future of that product in the next 6 months, let's say?
I see it continuing to go up for the next 6 months. I don't know if we're going to see, it'll be interesting to see if we have large jumps like that have just occurred in the last 2 months. It's like the market caught up with itself really fast. It's like, nope, these are $50,000 more now. And that's the new price. I think that from here on out through the spring, it's going to be kind of a little bit like, ooh, that one got $5,000 more or $10,000 more. I think it's going to start to be a little bit more of a battle to get it up
Yeah.
because we've already seen that huge like $50,000 increase. But what happens is it only takes one really cool unit to sell high to where all the sellers think, I could get that price.
Mm-hmm.
And once sellers start believing that they can get a good price in a seller's market, buyers' hands are tied. They have to pay the price the seller wants or the seller won't sell.
I hope that means there's more inventory because it would be nice to show people more than one property per week.
Yeah, completely. I mean, obviously that's why we're seeing the prices that we're seeing. Come on, sellers, where are you at?
Perfect way to end. Come on, sellers, where are you at?
All right. Come out wherever you are.